Hello, welcome to the fifth episode of Add Water and Stir with Adopted Black Mom and a Complicated Melody, Mimi over there.
Hey.
Hey. And we are so excited because we have our very first guest star on the show tonight. Say hello, everybody. The future adopter. And she is from the blog A Sister's Guide to Adoption. Is that it's Sister's Guide
Yeah.
to Adoption, right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's it.
so I think that if you saw our blogs, Complicated Melody and I, we shouted her out, and she's been like our hype woman for like all 2 months we've been doing this thing.
She writes
I
the
thought she would have on a
recap.
jersey and would just like run across the stage like hype, hype, hype.
Right. Yo, yo, yo.
So we are really excited to have Future on to talk about waiting. This episode is called "Take Your Time, We'll Wait," which is really kind of not really. We don't want to wait. But before we get to the meat of our topic, we got to do some catching up as we normally do. So of course, the most important question of the evening is, what is everybody sipping on?
I am unfortunately drink free.
You can't come back to the show no more. No, I'm kidding.
We don't have a drink of water or anything.
No,
A pizza
I was so trying to get everything together. I even left my bacon flavored sunflower seeds. Even they're upstairs. It's all out of order.
Sunflower seeds.
We did not give you enough notes, apparently.
Right. All right, Mimi, what you got tonight?
I'm drinking water out of my lovely red elephant cup. Yes. Get into that. If you don't know, then you don't know.
Now you know. Now you
Now
know.
Well,
But
I
yeah, drinking water.
Oh, everybody's all clean and dandy tonight except for me. I guess I'll be winding down later by myself. I am sipping on some Baileys, and right before the show started, we had some crazy stuff going on in the house, so I added an extra half pour. So it's about to get live. So
A half pour of what? Did you mix the Baileys with something?
no.
Okay,
No.
just the
It's a
Baileys.
pretty big glass, though. So it's a pretty
You got that Olivia Pope Bailey.
okay. Yeah. Olivia Pope of cordials. So, Future, we're gonna kick off kind of some updates with you. What's going on in your world?
Nothing much. Still taking my swimming lessons, which have been really great. I thought I was going to be the oldest person in the class, but I am not. But I've just been swimming around, splashing around with all the little kids, in no way ashamed of myself. So that's been going good, and just crafting.
Good deal. You got those fire extinguishers?
I did. I finally got one. It's sitting on my counter. I even took it out of the box this week, so it's a baby.
Progress.
So it's baby.
Progress. And tell
just
tell
for
folks
those
where
who
you
don't
are
know.
in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you? So, for those who don't know, we met a future adopter on her blog because she's interested in adoption, and she's gone through a couple of different thought processes about adoption. So, you want to tell us where you are in the process?
Sure. Right now, I'm just in the preparation phase, so I haven't actually sent in my application. I have decided that I want to do foster top, but I haven't actually sent in my application yet. But until I do, I've been, working on being more stable financially, clearing up debt, and building a nest egg, and getting my house ready, which includes the fire extinguisher and surge protector covers, all that good stuff. So I'm in the pre-prep stages, is what I call it, of my journey.
What ages are you looking at? Is there a range you've got in mind?
I'm thinking 0 to 3.
Oh wow.
So
the
that's
cute
where I'm
age.
leaning.
That's the good age. That's the age we were into. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say you over there rocking with Mimi.
Mhm.
Y'all have fun with that.
We do the toddlers over here. That's how we roll.
Yeah.
I have cousins that are like in that age range. I have cousins that are between 1 and 5, so that's a good range to jump into, I think.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, Mimi, what's going on? We haven't heard much from you on the in the blogosphere in the last 2 weeks.
I know it's been a rough 2 weeks. My mom had visited, and then she left,
Right.
and I've been losing it ever since. So we're just, living. Oh, I do have an update though. We signed our adoptive placement paperwork, and
Woo!
I think we have a court date,
Oh
and it's
my
going to
God.
be the end of September. So I'm excited to finalize our
Congrats.
adoption. So we are
Woo.
almost there. We are in the last step, and
Gross.
so that's
Wow.
Like,
exciting.
way
That's
to
the
bury the
update.
lead on that one. That's big news.
Yeah, that is really, really, really awesome. That's so great. I'm so
I'm
excited for you.
excited. I
Yay.
guess I should have, posted that to the blog, but hey,
Hey,
life just
hey.
have been happening actually. But
Yeah.
what about you? What's been going on with you?
Well, life has been happening. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. As you know, I lost the furry one last week, and
Oh,
so I have really been just mourning.
we see
And
the furry one in the back of you too.
a lovely portrait of the furry one over where his dog dish used to be, and it's just been really hard. It's been really, really hard, and I did write about it, and one of kind of I think his last gifts was helping me show my daughter what grief should look like, because she really struggles with grief and kind of showing sadness. Sadness usually comes out as anger for her, and interestingly, though, I have been off my rocker for the last 2 weeks, as I mean, kind of leading up to his passing and then subsequent this last week. I have been a real grumpy puss. It's not been pretty. I mean, it's been bad. We've been fighting over cereal. I have like hid cereal in my room because like he was like in my favorite cereal. I've not been parenting in ways that I've been proud of. Let me just
We all have our moments.
Yeah.
Trust me, we all
and
have our moments.
and now I also see the relationship between anger and grief, and that kind of has given me some insights on her as well. And you know, so it's been a really tough couple of weeks. And then the other thing is, in the middle of all of this, or at the day after the furry one passed away, um, this one particular aunt who is special showed up again, like contacting me,
Wow.
and if you are a Facebooker, I don't use Facebook to promote my blog, but I have my Facebook in my like real on ground life. But you don't need anybody's. If you're a Facebook friend with somebody, even if you have like put them on the most limited, stringent list, if you're Facebook friends with them, they don't need your phone number. They will just call. They can call you through Facebook. I was like,
When did
good
that
God.
happen? That that's too much.
So
What do you mean they could call you?
like,
Like ring your computer? Like
right,
a Skype
like,
call?
yes,
That's rude.
yes. And actually, the cell phone, like if you've got it on your cell phone, like it just rings like a phone. Like she got my number. And so, I wasn't having that. So we've been dealing with those kind of boundary issues as well. So it's been a little challenging, but, you know, it's life. This is real. So that's kind of my update.
Okay.
So,
That sounds like the real part of, you know, having an older child, adoption, and then also understanding when biological family, you know, when you're
yeah,
kind of dealing with biological family, like how do you set those boundaries and things
yeah,
like
yeah. Especially with a
so?
couple people that just
I'm sure
don't
we could do a
don't
whole
see.
podcast on
Oh,
that.
right, gates around my life. Jesus be offense. So, any, anyway, so let's get into our topic. Tonight we decided that we wanted to talk about waiting, and there's lots of different kinds of waiting during the adoption process. As Future mentioned, she's kind of getting herself together, but there's a wait factor involved in that. And then you do your paperwork, and there's wait to kind of get the fingerprints back and the security clearance back, and then you wait to do your home study, and then you wait to get the match. And matching in particular seems to be a really stressful time for people in waiting. And so we wanted to talk about kind of all of these different kinds of waiting and kind of how do you take care of yourself, what do you feel during those kinds of periods, and all of that kind of jazz. And so I did want to mention that on Adoptive Families website, the magazine has a website, Adoptive Families, I think it's .com. They actually have data on wait times, and it's really kind of cool, and we'll put this in the show notes, but it's at adoptivefamilies.com. I think kind of under, if you look under some of their frequently asked questions, FAQs, they have newborn placement average wait times and they do this survey every year, fosters to placement of a child and ultimate adoption and all of those kinds of things. And so I guess I'll start with the foster to adopt time. Average time from foster certification to placement of a child who's ultimately adopted. So most folks take longer. 27% take longer than 12 months. 7 to 12% take 20% take 7 to 12 months. And then 4 to 6 months is 15% of that population of foster to adopt. And then another 38% is 3 months or less. And so, and if you're looking at newborn placements, it's really surprising because if you look at some of the websites out there and support groups, you hear people waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to find, an expectant mom kind of looking for a newborn placement. But 24% of those newborn placements happen within 3 months of kind of getting the home study and everything and the matching stuff done. Kind of short.
Well, I'm looking at this. It says average, I don't know if we're looking at the same thing. Average time from preparation of portfolio to match with birth mother. Is that what you're referring
to? Maybe, yeah. I think so.
Okay. I'm like, man, that's quick.
It is quick, and so you hear these stories of people that take, I've been waiting years and years and years. Now, they do also have data on international adoptions, and those do take quite a bit longer. And so, and they also, just in case folks are wondering, in terms of cost for adoptions related to adoption, Adoptive Family does a average. They do a survey each year on that, on costs related to adoption as well.
So where do you fall into this?
I am an adoption unicorn.
Okay.
From start to finish, from the moment that I dropped my application to my agency, not like even the stack of paperwork that you get, but to my agency to finalization was less than 18 months.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So for us, I think we were certified in, I want to say September of last year. We were placed in March, and then we're going to finalize in September. So that's a year.
That's about a year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're in that that 27, well, that 20% or so. Yeah. From it for placement to finalization, actual placement to finalization for us was about 4.5 months.
That's excellent because in my state you have to the child has to stay with you in a kind of a foster care situation for 6 months before you can finalize.
Wow. So, Future, what do you think about all of this? Do you what are your thoughts on waiting, and have you given much thought to kind of what it's going to be like and how you're going to feel? How do you feel now?
Right now, honestly, the waiting is already getting to me. I'm like, why am I waiting? I want to be as prepared as possible, which is why I'm waiting, but I have to constantly remind myself that, I'm doing all this preparation so that maybe the process can kind of speed along. When it comes to my home study, I will have done some of the things like putting in child lock, so maybe that will help me. But, it's hard even now waiting to submit my application, but I know I set these goals that I wanted to attain, and just trying to stick to them and not just get so excited that I just mail it in. It's been hard. Thinking about the wait as far as the wait to certification and the wait to placement, that gives me some concern because I can be impatient. So I'm going to have to try and keep myself occupied, and my family as well, like keeping them like off my back as far as what's happening. What about today? Something new today? Have you heard anything today? What about now? So I don't want that because that'll make me more nervous and amped up about it. So
yeah.
ABM's process went so fast. I don't know if she had time for people to answer those type of questions. Did you? Did you have to deal with
No,
people wondering where you were in the process?
not really. I mean, it just happened. I mean, my home study, my certification came through at the beginning of July of last year. Wow, and and Hope's profile was sent to me like by the end of the month, and then we were matched like 3 weeks later. Um, and then I was on a
Uniforms
plane,
around.
like, yeah, I was like, and then I was on a plane like another 3 weeks later. Like it was to go meet her, and things just happened really, really fast. And so a lot of people didn't know until I think National Adoption Day is in November. And so I did a little like montage of things that had been going on in my life and announced that I was adopting. And like that she actually like I knew who she was. Like like I knew she it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm adopting, like I'll keep you posted. But it was like, no, I've got a kid. Like she's moving in. She's coming to visit. Like it's kind of crazy. And so so I didn't have a lot of that wait time. And I have to say though, I feel like when I go to talk to like when I participate in one of my local support groups, I see like people giving me side eye. People are really resentful when they hear my story because a lot of folks in here are in that like 27% or those larger percentage that wait more than 12 months, and even the people that wait 3 months are like,
Well, I'm reserving my side eye for now. We'll see if it takes me a long time, then yes, much shade will be thrown. But so right now, your side eye is in reserve.
okay, I appreciate that. So Mimi, how did you feel like during your process? Because I mean, honestly, between certification and when you got Nana, it really wasn't that long.
Well, I think what made it feel long was because I just felt like we're certified. We are this wonderful couple. And so, and there are these African American children in foster care. Why wouldn't we get placement like immediately? And so having that kind of frame made it seem longer. So you kind of start thinking like, is something wrong? Something wrong with my home study? Something wrong with the matching process? And we also had anticipated, because I just knew we were going to be matched, that we would have a child in the house by Christmas. And when that didn't happen, we were like, So that just made the process feel longer for us. So Christmas went by.
New Year's went by.
Yes, it did. And what also made it feel longer was because when we were certified, I was like, okay, y'all, I'm like 8 months paper pregnant. So I just have like a month to go.
Right.
Right? So
Right.
everybody's like, great. And they're like, okay, so I don't
Where's
feel
the
like
baby?
asking you the question anymore. Like people start to lose interest, So it can be
Well,
challenging.
it's funny because there was and I'll put these again on the show notes, but there was an article that I came across today on the stages of adoption pregnancy. And this was on iVillage, and they said that there were 5 stages. So the first stage is you question yourself: will I be a good parent? Am I going to bond with this child? Is there going to be attachment issues? And it's funny because those are the first questions that you ask, and then the second question is like, who is this kid? Like you go through this whole period of like, well, who is this kid, and like, what is the kid, and who is the kid, and like, what is the kid going to be like? And then the third stage is this waiting phase where you kind of get to think a place where there's not a lot of movement in the process, and the article says that you try to figure out how you're going to during that time spend time welcoming the child into your life before the arrival. So there's all of this kind of prep work. You're nesting physically and emotionally.
Oh my gosh, I nested. If you read my blog during that time, you'll see I was making, curtains. I sewed blankets. I painted the room. I mean, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was uh, gluing lace on a on a lampshade. I was doing all kinds of things.
You should have had future adoption come down there. She's all
I
crafty.
know. If I had
Oh,
known by then, I
yeah,
could have
it would
gotten
have been real
some help. Have you started doing any of that, future doc? Are you nesting?
Um, I've been trying to restrain myself because I can really get out of control with the crafting. Like I'll create a whole room, tear it down, and start over. So I've limited myself. I got one bear and one blanket, and that's it. So I'm trying to limit myself because I'll just go crazy, and then they'll be
You are
like, "This
really
lady is
restraining
really."
yourself here.
I'm trying.
Oh yeah. At some
That's why
point
the
we're gonna
keeping
see some.
yourself occupied comes in handy. Because if not, it would be strange.
Well, there are two more stages, but then we do have this kind of. I do have some data also on keeping yourself busy. So the stage 4 is the arrival, and so you're like, yeah, I got the baby, yay! And then stage 5, which is
Is what the hell did I get myself into? Is that what the stage 5 is?
yes, and so it's called Happy Beginnings, but also there's a bittersweetness. And so for folks that are adopting newborns, they tend to feel some kind of way about the expectant mom, the birth mother, and the family, and kind of how that transition may have gone. But then there's also that's when you're also susceptible to post-adoption depression. Which I don't know if we've really talked about that. We talked about self-care and treat yourself, and we talked a bit about depression. But yeah, like if you read my blog shortly, a couple like maybe a month or two after Hope got here, and I was like, what is happening to me? I just can't. And I can't remember who, but someone it may have been Instant Mama was like, sounds like depression. Is it a thing? And I was like, yeah, it's a thing. And so stage 5 is when you kind of go through that, and then things kind of start shaking out and getting normal. But so what do you do to keep yourselves busy? Like, future adopters over there swimming,
That's right.
crafting,
Selling things at craft
selling
fairs.
hot. I just imagine her up late at night somewhere with a hot glue gun and some paint.
The accuracy of that statement is very
I think she's also making vision boards of all the goals that she has to finish beforehand.
I do. I
Count
have my list.
money.
I'm scratching them off one at a time.
Well,
So
that's one way to keep yourself busy.
yeah.
For me, my keeping busy was really nesting. Honestly, it really was focusing on nesting. And for some people, that wouldn't work for them. Like some people told me they wouldn't have done that because it made them feel lonely to go to the room and see an empty bed and not have a child there. And maybe sometimes I feel like that, but not really because I was more focused on like how beautiful can I make this room. So I wanted to pull all of like it doesn't matter that this is not my biological child. I want this child to have this best beautiful room as possible. So
Well, like I said, there is some data. I'm going to try to. Last time I shared my screen. This time I'm going to try it again. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right, here we go. So I got this from a blog on Squidoo, and the post was waiting adoption. And so you'll see that there was a poll there. And so 23% of folks spend time reading or researching parenting and adoption processes and all that kind of stuff. 8%, only 8% join support groups and communities. Support groups and communities, I think, are really, really important, but future, I don't know if you've joined any like other like outside the blogosphere, but like on Facebook or whatever, those folks can go left like so fast. Like they will just, it'll be going great, couple great posts, 5 great posts, one post that they'll like just like drag somebody for like 2 days. It's kind of crazy. But 8% do that. Much like Mimi, there's a lot of folks, 26%, 1/4 of folks are nesting and shopping. Almost a third, almost 30%, 29% are praying, meditating, and reflecting, because Lord knows you will pray. I don't know who you might pray to, but you will pray. And 11% are volunteering, and there was it's really interesting in the article talking about volunteering to help other kids while you're waiting for the arrival of your kid. So so there's that. Am I still
So, have you joined any other networks or support groups or
I
anything?
I haven't. I've just, you guys are it. So no pressure or anything, but I mean, it all rests on your shoulders. But
We're trying to grow this community too. So anybody that wants to join, come on in.
Come on, come on.
But like I said, I mean, the outside things, and I hang out. I spend a lot of time with my sister and my family, so that kind of stuff is keeping me occupied for now. But eventually, I'll get tired of them and will need something else. So maybe then I'll venture out.
So how is your family? I know that you started telling people maybe about a month ago or so. I think it seemed like. So how did folks kind of take that? And are they? I get the sense that maybe they're like, so what's up? What's new? Like every hour, what's going on?
At first I was a little nervous about telling people, but everyone's been very receptive. They've been very excited. I mean, I'd mentioned it kind of casually in passing years and years ago, and every now and then they would just get thrown out. So I guess nobody was really surprised. Maybe I was more surprised than they were. But everyone's been very supportive, and my sister and my parents kind of hear about it more. My mom even said, "Can we talk about something else?" at one point. So I had to pull back a bit. But my friends are really supportive, and they've been following my blog, and so I mean, it's been great.
Good. Awesome. So did you decide, I can't remember, did you decide to go with an agency, a private agency? Are you going private or public?
Well, right now I'm still sticking with the local child health and human service agency. But my sister met someone while she was out and about who went through a local agency, and so she had a really good experience, and a friend of hers did it with the same agency, and so I was thinking maybe I should look into them. I had already kind of written them off just because the initial package they sent me was not the best representation of their agency. That's what we'll say. So I kind of like put them off to the side, but I'm thinking maybe I should revisit them just to see, if maybe that's something I should consider.
Okay.
Sure, why not? You have time.
Check them out. So, how did folks feel, as you were going through, or for you, future kind of anticipatory, but Mimi, what did you feel in anticipation of the home visit? Because people get stressed about the home visit.
People are very stressed about the home visit, and maybe also at the time I was nesting, but I was also on, I think it may be adoption.com. They have forums there, so I used to hang out there a lot. I didn't speak a lot, but I used to hang out and read. So people would talk about their home visits. So I wasn't worried so much that they were going to come and do a white glove test or anything like that. I just knew my home needed to be neat and clean and, look kind of lived in. You didn't want to make it too, neat where they're like, does a child even belong here? So I didn't worry so much about that. What I will say about the home visit, if we're talking about the home study piece of it, I think that's an important part of it, because that's the time when they're going to start asking you a lot of personal questions. And luckily ours didn't get that deep, but they are talking to you about your family. They're talking to you about your history, your any mental illness that you have, any addictions that you have, any what your relationships are with your parents and things like that. And if they're a good home study person, they're going to be friendly and try to get you to open up. And you want to be honest, but you have to, my perspective is it needs to be measured honesty because these people really aren't your friends, right? So their purpose is to find out enough about you to make a good match, but they don't have to know every single detail of your history. I don't know, ABM, what do you think?
Well, let me ask you this: was your social worker the one that did your home study and that is following you through finalization?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Ours was, so the way ours work is they subcontract that out.
Oh, okay.
To different people that come in. That's what they do. They just do home studies.
They just do home studies.
And So this is good for you, future, just to remember, when you get to that home study piece of it. Um, it's just, that's why I said it's very important. And when you finish that home study, you should read it. If
Closely.
you should request to read it, because I thought they were just going to report what I said, but actually that home study person was also making assessments.
Yeah.
Did you get to read yours,
I did.
ABM?
Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's almost really. I mean, they collect. It really is a collection of qualitative data, and your actual report is not only a reflection of kind of what you said, but an analysis of what you said and what it means in terms of being fit for as an adoptive parent. My in my situation, my social worker who did my home study actually has been was our social worker all the way through. So we've actually become really close to her. But um, yeah, I mean, I want to. We got tweeted yesterday. We had a nice long chat with
Yes.
Emily H. So if you're watching or watch later, here's our shout out because we had a
Hey,
nice long
Emily H.
Twitter
Thanks for tweeting
Twitter
us.
yeah, Twitter conversation yesterday, and and just a couple of things that she talked about was she was really excited to hear that future adopter was going to be on, and
Yay.
she mentioned she said the toughest part of this process was being how everything is so intentional, and that everything requires a decision, paperwork, meetings, everything, and she also talked a little bit about the stress of that constant decision making. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But and also the stress about the home visit. And she said that that really wasn't her pressure point. But I mean, if you read a couple of the online support groups, people flip the heck out over the home study. And maybe it was just because I was getting ready to defend my dissertation proposal. My house had a lot of paper, and I did my best to do. I did my best to pretty much do this with reams of paper, corners together, stack, corners together, stack. Don't touch it, and you kick it over like you're dead. Like, and so, I have boxes for my research and books and all of this stuff. And so, I just try to move stuff to the corners, move stuff out of my workspace. And, but white glove, oh man, like I have, you know, I have a housekeeper that comes and helps out every other week or so. We've talked about
Us too.
staff. We've talked about staff, right? But,
Yes.
but like, it's every other week. Like this house will not pass a white glove test. It looked like me and the furry one lived here. And so I was like, I'm not cleaning up for her. This is how I live. If they think that this is unfit for a kid, then you know what? Maybe this isn't my calling. But what was interesting was I ended up realizing that I was more freaked out about the questions than I was about anything else because I feel like to this day, I feel like I totally bombed the first visit. I cried all the way through it because I was a nervous wreck. Like I just cried. And she was like, "What are you crying for?" And I was like, "I can't. I can't help it. I can't. I can't. I really don't know why I'm still crying, but like just tears." And so I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna think I'm completely unstable. So the next visit, we had got a little something to help me manage some stress. I had to visit my doctor. Was like, okay, I'm starting to fall apart because it was all happening again. For me, a lot of these things have overlapped with other major events in my life, and yeah, I cried and cried. But yeah, they ask really, really personal questions, your relationships. I mean, and for me as a single person, I got asked a lot about my dating relationships. And, I don't even talk to my mom about that kind of stuff.
And so, just FYI for you,
Okay.
future, that they will be asking you about your dating relationships too. And because at least my understanding of that is they're interested in knowing, are you going to have strange people in and out the house? What's your process for letting
Yeah,
people close to the child? Because, a lot of abuse happens from family members and
right,
friends. And
right.
so,
Well,
Right.
honestly, I think my hardest part about that will be as soon as they ask me something that I'm probably not prepared for, I have a tendency to make faces, so I'll probably hit them with a what? Did you just ask me? I can't believe she just said that. So I'll have to work on handling that and trying to keep keep a straight face and just answer the questions
Yeah. I would
appropriately.
I would definitely find out in your jurisdiction if they outsource that function or if your social worker will be doing it. I mean, it seems like a lot of jurisdictions outsource it. Like I said, for my agency, I went private. I had the same person the whole time. So yeah, when I was giving her side eye, like when she was asking me, did I ever smoke weed when I was in college? I was like, now we look back and chuckle.
Well, so speaking of that, how intentional were you in answering those questions? Did you think about beforehand, like, I'm gonna give you this much, but you don't have to know
You know, I
everything.
I kind of was like, here's one thing, I know how old Mimi is. I don't know what. Oh no, you did just reveal on your blog your fantastic age, future. So I got a couple years on y'all, and let me tell you something about 40. You stop caring about a whole bunch of stuff. You really do. And there's a freedom that kind of comes with it because you know yourself and the mistakes that you made, and so I was like, look, I did some dumb stuff between the ages of 18 to 24. It wasn't as bad as some people. And I'm working on a doctorate. How bad could that be? And so I guess, I think I was certainly guarded, but I probably wasn't as freaked out as it appears as some people are. And again, it may also be that I was just also like I'm still trying to defend this first part of my dissertation. So I care, and this is the second most important thing that's going. That these two things are happening at the same time. So I could only devote so much stress to it. So I just kind of really rolled with it. And after I cried through the first visit, I kind of got it together and collected myself and got it together.
So I would say it's just something to think about. Like for us, we were very honest, and open to a point, right? But even that, I felt like came back. At least when I read the assessment, we had to go back and have some things changed. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like the way you assessed that particular thing about our family, or your assessment is incorrect, or your interpretation of what I said was not right. And so I think you just have to be careful about how you present certain situations, because the person on the other end, I don't know, they're human just like us, so they're making an assessment of you at the time.
Yeah.
So
So
wait, you got a chance to actually go back, and after you read it, you were able to say, well, can we revisit this? Because the interpretation doesn't really seem like what I was trying to convey. Did they actually consider that and maybe make changes to
I
your
don't.
evaluation?
So we read it. So the way it works, at least the way it works in our state, is that you can read it at the agency. So they won't let you have a copy of it. Like they
Hmm.
can't email it to you.
Right.
They did that. They let you get a copy, ABM.
They straight emailed it to me, and I sent back recommended verbiage.
So yeah, so we had to sit in the office and read through it, and I was doing the same thing, like, I don't like, So I didn't see the final version, right?
Okay.
So I don't know exactly how much they changed. They seemed open to corrections in our explanations of why it didn't represent us. It didn't characterize us correctly. Not that it was really negative things on there. It was just stuff like I don't. I'll give you an example. One thing it said was something about me resenting my sister. And I was like, no, and I don't want you to say that. And so, certain things you just go back and talk to them about. Um, so I never saw the final version. ABM, did you get to see your final version?
I did. I did get to see my final version that was signed off on, and because I mean, the way that my agency really facilitated the process is we really want you to feel like this represents you. And certainly they weren't going to take all of my suggestions, but I do think that there was a real strong effort in my situation where we came to a meeting of the minds.
And I felt like the same thing too. I felt enough comfortable with, excuse me, I felt comfortable enough with how they managed our concerns that I didn't push back and try to get another one. But this is the thing. You don't, as you're going through the process, you don't know what you can push back on and what you can't push back on. And you're concerned that how you're going to be perceived, are you going to be a problem child, or you're going to be, those people. So the forum helped because I didn't even know before then that I could ask for the
Mm.
to see the home study. So going to the forums and reading things, you get to see like, okay, these people asked about this. I can ask about this. So you can kind of check and see. So I would recommend going to a forum too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't even know, like you said, I didn't even know that you would get an opportunity to see it. So, I mean, even now, that's why I was asking. I'm realizing that, I have a little bit more control as far as the home study and seeing the ultimate result of that than I previously thought. So that's good to know.
Yeah. And Emily mentioned this when we were tweeting back and forth yesterday, and she said she wasn't so concerned about the kind of white glove piece, but the home study should reflect that people get you, like they should understand kind of like who you are and be able to kind of articulate that in this document, because that's really what's going to be used to help you get the right match.
Right. And that's why my comment to Emily was that it is important. I know, like for her, that wasn't the main thing, but I felt like it is important because that thing is the one thing that's going to help you get the match. So if they don't get that right, then that's going to make it even harder for you to be matched appropriately.
Yeah. So one last article that I wanted
You
to
guys still there?
mention. Yeah, I'm still here. Everybody's here. I see
Yep.
everyone. All right. So one last before we hit the wind down, that I wanted to mention, article that I wanted to mention was on adoption.com, and it talked about anger during the process and feeling angry, and then people feel guilty about being angry. They're angry about how long it's taking. They're angry about perhaps the reasons that or the background journey that brought them to adoption, namely infertility. They might be mad about the fact that there are so many kids out there that need homes, lots of anger, and really kind of how to sit with that, and that it's normal. It's just a part of the emotional milieu that I think we deal with as we go through the adoption process, and it can show up very much throughout this waiting, these various components of waiting in the process.
I think that's a good point because um, especially when you're waiting and you haven't been matched and you feel like, well, when I went to my training, you said there were all these kids that needed homes. So why is it taking so long to match me with just one or two or however that many that you're looking for? Um, and so I can see why people would be angry or why that would show up in or irritation at least in the process.
Yeah. So we'll put that in the show notes as well, because it was really kind of interesting. And one of the big takeaways from this short article, it's a pretty short article, but was that if you really don't deal with that anger and find positive outlets and really practice self-care, and even during the waiting kind of pre-adoptive phase, it really can manifest itself into anxiety, which we see prevalent among pre-adoptive families, and or depression. So treat yourself.
I love this research. Thanks, ABM. You were doing it.
I'm
You really
trying.
get. You really did a great job on this background today.
I was trying. I was trying. So
Yeah.
so now we're going to transition in our last 15 minutes to what our lovely guest has dubbed the wind down, which apparently I'm winding by myself tonight since y'all are drinking water.
We're
It's
calling it the
dry
water down
city,
over here.
dry city over in the other parts of this podcast. So this is when I usually turn things over to find out what Mimi has really been watching. Don't. I'm not gonna lie. I watch it too, but I like. But I want to see what she wants to talk about tonight. And it appears that also from some of the comments that are that Future has made that she also watches and partakes of these ratchet
Of
shows
course
that
I
we tend to watch. So pipe on in about what you've been watching this
do.
week too.
Well, part of the wind down is to try to talk about things that are slightly related to foster care, adoption, and parenting. So, on one of our ratchet reality TV shows was Love and Hip Hop, and Waka
Yes.
Flocka Flame. If
Mhm.
for our listeners, if you're not familiar with, he is a rapper. He lives in Atlanta, and he's on the television show Love and Hip Hop. So him and his girlfriend,
They just got
and
married.
Yeah, they're
They,
married now. They're
yeah,
official.
oh yeah,
he's married
sorry,
now.
his wife. They felt like they've been together for 4 years and hadn't had a baby. So
Didn't know why.
she hmm,
And didn't know why.
and
Right.
didn't know why. So apparently they were doing the unprotected do before they were married, but that's neither here nor there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but so she convinces him. She goes to the fertility doctor. Apparently, there's nothing wrong with her, nothing that they can see. So they ask him to go, and he takes a test, and it comes out that he has a very low sperm count. And I was like, wow, that is amazing that they put this on the reality TV shows because rappers um probably you would such a hyper masculine
Viral.
job.
Viral.
Would you say?
Viral.
Yeah, yeah. And so to announce to the world that you don't, you have a low sperm count, I felt like it was very brave of him to go on. And we hear a lot about women's fertility issues, but we don't talk a lot about men's fertility issues. So I was like, wow, that is really something for him to open up like that. That's pretty cool. What did you think when you saw that?
I was honestly surprised that they put it that he allowed that to be filmed because I feel like once they film it, you have no control over what they use and what they don't use. So I was surprised that he let them film it before he kind of found out. But I thought it was interesting because everybody kind of made the same comment you did. But I think there's a difference between being virile and having a hyperactive drive versus actually being fertile. And so sometimes I think people don't separate the two, and they really are two totally separate things. So, but I was like you, shocked that he let that be filmed.
Yeah, I agree. I was there with you, and I just kind of I felt for him in that moment. Well, for lots of reasons, I felt for him and I felt for them. Because it's clear that they want to have kids, and they want to have biological kids, and that's cool, rock on. But it was like something about when they, when the doctor was like, well, okay, you got like 20,000 floaters, and it was like, yeah, but you should have like a couple million, and it was like, okay, everybody does the math in their head on TV, like in live real time. And I just kind of I thought it was brave of him to have it filmed not knowing what the results were going to be, because it was clear that there was some shock on his face,
Right.
and two, there was certainly some shock on hers, and two, that even afterwards that there wasn't something on the out there in the media saying that he didn't try to kill that footage. And because I mean that could have been a story all by itself, and so it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with them. And because I thought it was a really touching moment, and they were like, we're gonna do some stuff, and we're gonna take, he's got low T, okay, we're gonna do some stuff, and it's, I wonder where their journey is going to take them.
I'm interested to see where their journey takes them also. And I looked around because I wanted to see if there was any blowback from this. And I didn't
Hmm.
see anything on social media kind of saying that anything about negative
Yeah,
about him and his manhood or anything
yeah,
like that. And so I felt good about that. Like that wasn't something that people would take and then try to down him for. Now, who knows if that'll happen in the future, but I didn't see any immediate kind of blast of him or something talking
yeah.
about his manhood.
Granted, it also is a big news week for other reasons that we'll talk about, I think, on a future podcast with Ferguson. But I mean, who's gonna really be tweeting about Waka Flocka's like low sperm count?
Well, people
Wait,
talk about Love and Hip
yeah,
Hop all the time,
yeah,
so they
yeah.
could have
Let me.
said something about it,
I
but
was
people
like,
didn't. So I don't know. Maybe they just didn't understand it. I don't know.
I was about to say, let us not get dragged by Black Twitter. So
Yeah, that is true.
we love you.
That is Okay, so I'm gonna switch now. I also saw some footage about Kim Kardashian wanting to adopt a 12-year-old from Thailand. So apparently they were over there on a visit. They visited an orphan to Thailand. They visited an orphanage, and she met a young lady there, and her name was Pink, which I'm sure was not her real name.
Right.
Um, and she fell in love and was like, "Oh, I want to adopt her." And her mother kind of put her in a place like, "Look, you can't just go around
Snatch up a
just picking
child in
up
a
people and
foreign
taking them
country
home
because you think he's
with
cute.
you." And maybe there's some other ways that you can, support her than adopting her. Any thoughts on Kim and her her
ABM has
need
thoughts.
for
'Cause did you see
adoption?
that face?
They are so vapid. Like I just can't with the whole lot of them. And like, I'm glad that somebody adopted Kanye because like I can't with them. Like I just can't with the whole lot of them. But the whole, I did hear the thing, and so then I went and watched that episode, and it was like, don't get me wrong, I do believe that she felt some genuine affection for this kid, but like kids are not accessories, and everything that she does is just so calculated. And I was like, girl, just have a seat somewhere, go put on a bikini or something that's too tight, and you and that crazy fool go sit down on the beach somewhere and take inappropriate pictures and be quiet. Like I just can't with her. I
I mean,
Well,
really, what is it? Why? You met this girl for what, a day or so, if even that, and then what? Just because,
well,
why? Because she's
according to
from
my
Thailand that you felt like you wanted to adopt her? Like, what? And why? What makes you think that that's the right thing for her to pick her up from her home country and go take her back to live with y'all and y'all craziness? No, that's ridiculous.
right, right.
well, according to my sister, Kim had a kitten at one time, and the kitten only lasted 3 episodes, and she lost it every episode. So her parenting, just in general, is questionable now to me. So I mean, and I
Yes.
just think that it just showed a lack of foresight. Like, she just obviously knows nothing about adoption. And like you said, she just thinks it's like you can just run out and pick one up like you do something from the store. And she knows obviously nothing about it. So,
Well, it
Well, I
it
think it
really
speaks to the larger kind of whole celebrity adoption piece of this. Like, I think you touched on it, ABM, where you said kids are not accessories, but just the thought process of I want another child, or I think this child, she's so cute. Let me
right,
take her with her without really thinking about the ramifications, one, of parenting another person, but then also the cultural impact of taking someone from their country and picking them up and put them into yours. There's an automatic thought that she thinks her life will automatically make this child's life better.
well
And
it's
at least Kim had at least a little bit of sense to be like, there's probably some other ways you can support her to have a better life than taking her with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's reminiscent of when Madonna adopted her daughter Mercy, I think from Malawi, and that they didn't have any, the country didn't even have a framework for international adoption. And, then it was like, is she really an orphan? No, she's not. There's her father. Or we're going to build a school and that'll write a check and we'll make it go away. And, it just left a sour taste in in my mouth anyway. And so, what's this, like 10 years later now, here comes Kim like on a vacation in Thailand, and she done found some child that she thinks is cute, and let's put her on TV. I want to adopt her. I want to adopt her. I'm like, she could have also wanted to adopt a llama, and that would have made a difference. And I just, I'm just sick
She
of her.
probably
She's
put
so
just as
vapid,
much thought
vapid.
into it, right?
Yeah, she's just, I can't stand her. I just can't.
All right, so then I'm gonna switch on to our favorite new reality show, which is Married at First Sight. So now that ABM has caught up, Future, have you watched this show?
Yes, after a bunch of people had mentioned it, and so I started watching, and I binge watched like the first 4 episodes, and so now I'm current, and I watch it every week.
So what do you think?
So,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I thought it was strange, like this week when they were talking about how Courtney hadn't met Jason's mom. I thought that was really odd, like how they had all been kept separate from family and friends. That was just weird to me. And I'm just thinking, if I'm in that situation, there's no way my sister is not going to pop up somewhere we are, be like, hey, who are you? Tell me about your life. Like, there's just no way that would happen in real life.
Yeah, I found it interesting that Jason and what's the black dude's name? I can't think of his name. What's his name?
Um,
The
Vaughn.
black dude.
Vaughn.
The black dude is
Vaughn.
named Ron?
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
Vaughn with a V, right. Both of them said, well, we need to have our stuff here tight before we start bringing in other people. He wasn't checking for friends, family, cousins, nobody. And I thought it was really interesting. Those two couples, the men were very much like that versus the other couple with the little scare girl. I can't remember these people's names.
Doug and Jamie.
Jug
That's what
and
you're talking
Jamie,
about.
and they were just like, she was the one that was holding back because she's just so embarrassed about her upbringing, versus, in that relationship, excuse me, the guy is like, I mean, all in. Let's meet everybody. I'm Uncle Doug, the whole bit, and
He's
I just thought it
ready.
was kind
He's
of
all
interesting.
in.
Yeah, he's all in.
Now,
So
I've already told you, I still don't like Jamie for Doug. I really,
yeah,
no.
she's not good
Mm-mm.
enough for him. But Vaughn and our girl, you talked about her being kind of angry a couple weeks ago, and I really see it now.
I
She
did
doesn't
not
cut this.
say angry. I did not say
Okay,
angry.
well, you know what? I'll say it
I
then.
did not say angry.
I'll say angry. She is angry, and she comes across as angry and bitter. Yeah, I said it because, and I'll say it again, because she just doesn't cut this brother no slack, none at all, ever. Like, is her house, is her couch, is her kitchen, is her dog. Like, you go over there, you live in this slow little corner, and she's just snipping. Don't get me wrong, I know that he's got attitude too, but I just kind of was like, girl, just for real, is it that serious? Calm down. Everything doesn't have to be World War III.
But
I
I
think
think
it's
part of
just
that too is her tone. Like his tone stays the same whenever they're talking. It's nice and flat, and there's never any inflection. And her voice, is really firm. And so I think it escalates it. It makes it seem like a lot bigger than it is. It does make her seem aggressive. Is the word we'll use.
Another A.
harsh. Her tone is harsh. I don't know if she's angry because I think she's probably a nice person, but um, I don't understand Vaughn. Like, what's so hard about going to brunch? I mean, why are you so reluctant?
Right.
you
Who
know,
doesn't love brunch? Really?
I
and
think I thought he was afraid because,
afraid.
I thought he was afraid because her tone is harsh. And, I'm sorry, I just think that any dude is going to kind of, clam up a little bit. It was like, okay, she's kind of harsh and I'm married to her. I'm going to go to brunch with a whole bunch of her friends. For real? Like, what is that going to be
Oh,
like?
I don't know. Just he doesn't seem to want to integrate into her life at all, right? And he wants to stay at his place and then,
Oh, yeah.
come back when he wants to and not tell anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just
They got issues.
I,
They're not going to make it. They're not going to make
I
it.
can't.
They're
I
not going
want
to make it.
I don't even know if I want them to because I just don't see the connection, even though they seem to be connected physically.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't. What?
But that's not enough. It's just not enough. It's not enough. I think that they will divorce, they will stay together for a while, and then they'll flame out. That's my prediction. You heard it here first.
Yeah, they don't have the connection to keep it going
Keep it
long
hot.
term. They
Yeah.
just don't seem to like each other. That's really what it
Right.
boils down to. They do
Right.
not like each other.
Each other. Right. Right. They're just buddies.
I don't even know if they are friends with benefits. That's what they are.
No, they're
And I
just
don't even
buddies.
know about the friends. They are roommates
No,
with
they're
benefits.
buddies.
Is that what you mean by buddies?
Buddies. Nobody said
Oh,
anything
wink,
about
wink,
friends.
buddies.
Buddies. So, all right, well, we're about to really wind down. So, recommendations, future adopter. We're going to start with you with this segment. What you want to tell the people?
Well, I have
Yes.
two recommendations this week
Oh,
since, I'm on my swimming every weekend flows. The first recommendation is called My Swim Cap. You see, I have my locks and they cannot get wet by that terrible chlorine water. So I have it's called My Swim Cap, and you tuck all your locks up and my hair stays completely dry. I mean, the edges get a little wet, but other than that, my hair stays dry. So My Swim Cap is a must have if you want to go swimming and keep your locks together.
I
all
saw
right.
that on your blog, so I was like, oh, that
Yeah.
seems pretty cool. I might need to get one or two or three.
Yeah, I
And
know. I'm gonna
they're
have to
even
get me in
fancy.
the
You can get them
young.
with the leopard print. Like they're not playing around with these swim caps.
All right. All
And then
right.
my second recommendation is something I found today. I'm a big music lover, so I was perusing the internet and there's this thing called Tiny Table Concerts, and it's on
Oh yeah,
NPR's website.
NPR.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And I mean, it is amazing. These people, I mean, you think an artist is talented, but when you see them singing live with like a guitar and a mic and that's it. So, some ones to really check out: Miguel, Alice Russell, Foreign Exchange. So, the Tiny Desk, Tiny Table Concerts on NPR.
All right. Good deal. Mimi, what you got? What thing did you pick up at the corner store this week?
That's what I recommend, that you go down to your local corner store, just peruse. They have all kind of nice. In my corner store, they have these like Hispanic themed snacks.
Oh God.
So,
Hope loves
they
them.
have
Hope
like,
loves all of them.
I'm not. What did you say?
Hope loves all of them, girl. We are just down in the barrio, like really trying to like find and I don't mean that disrespectfully if anybody starts dragging
No,
me, but like no, really, we have to go to certain places, certain neighborhoods, where there's a larger population just for those kind of treats.
And I'm glad I turned Future Adopter on to the barbecue. I mean, sorry, the bacon flavor sunflower seeds. I'm glad I could bring somebody over to my side.
yes, they've
But
been.
my actually, I have a serious one today. My recommendation is to read some blogs by adoptees.
Oh
So,
yes.
we a lot of times, we can focus. We're looking for people that are like us, right? So we maybe focus and look for other potential adoptive parents or adoptive parents. But I would say also to get an understanding of what your child may be going through, to read blogs from adoptees, adult adoptees, so they can kind
Mhm.
of tell you kind of what maybe some of the things that their parents did good, well, and some of the things that they didn't do well, and how they feel about adoption now, because a lot of the narrative is mainly from adopted parents. But I think it's interesting, and I think it's needed for us to look at the other side of the coin and see what our children may be feeling, so that we can appropriately address it and work with them. So
Yeah.
and I don't have any list of them, but I'll put those in the show notes.
There
Some of
was
the ones that I check out.
before I give my recommendation, there was one that got an adoptee who blogs, and I can't remember. I think I subscribed to her, so I'll have to go back and look. But she's been blogging for a while, and she allowed her adoptive mother, to guest blog for her, and that blog got pressed this freshly pressed on WordPress, and she wrote a subsequent blog about how she felt about her mother's voice being featured and freshly pressed on her blog, on an adoptee's blog, and how really kind of ironic and somewhat painful that experience was for her as an adoptee running a blog, and how her voice and none of her things had been freshly pressed, but then her mom comes as an adoptive parent, and the value that we have culturally assigned that role. um, I'd echo Mimi's recommendation. Definitely read what the adoptees have to say. Their voice is so important.
That blog that you're talking about is called Red
Yeah.
threadbroken.wordpress.com.
Yeah, really great blog. So my recommendation for tonight to wrap it up is I've been, I'm natural. We got three natural girls on the blog here. But
That's how we
I'm
do
natural.
it.
That's how we go. I'm natural. Hope's hair is natural. It's growing. It's thriving. We've been looking at different products, and in the natural game, everybody has these different. You got products, product junkies, and all that kind of stuff. And um, so I found some products that work for Hope, but in an effort to kind of downsize things, I've kind of always kind of say, oh, okay, I spent a couple weeks trying to use those products on my hair. That has just turned into such one disaster after another. And so I'm going to keep it completely real. For the last 2 years, my go-to product is Blue Magic. The blue kind, the blue old school bergamot grease. And you know
I need you to
what?
show a picture of it. Do you have your ratchet recommendations that
I tell you what,
do
I will
you have
post a
a
picture on the blog because it's like back in the room. But yes, like it lasts. I don't put a lot on my hair, but like it protects against humidity. Like it does great on my hair. It's terrible on her hair, great on my hair. And I have tried and tried and tried. This week, I braided her hair so she could go swimming, and I used Shea Moisture products on her hair. It's great. I use that mess on my hair, and like it has just been a mess of tangles, puffiness that just, every time it rains this week, that doesn't happen with my Blue Magic. So, in the event that you are one of those naturalistas that like is finding that all of the twigs and berries and making your flaxseed and all of that carrying on crunchy granola stuff is not working for you, do not hesitate. Do not feel any guilt about going to go visit your friend Petroleum, because petroleum and mineral oil, like, which are like on the bad list of naturalistas, do what works for your hair. I like grease. So there's
do
my recommendation.
that's the
My
basic thing. Do what
recommendation.
works for your hair. Wood is constantly telling me to grease uh Nana's hair. And I'm like, no, I have to like put oil in it. I like this coconut oil and olive oil mixture with the shea butter and the essential oils and the almond and the it's like, can you put some grease in it though? So, do what
Yeah,
works for your hair.
do what works for your hair. And if you find, like I said, the crunchy granola route is not working for you, just run on down to your local CVS for like $3.50 and knock yourself out. Like it's only gonna cost you $3.50. If you're a product junkie, you didn't spend 20 some dollars per product on other stuff. So knock yourself out.
It
So
worked for you growing up.
it,
Your mama had put grease on your hair and your hair was nice and
right.
healthy the whole time.
I can tell you what, Grammy was not in nobody's kitchen making flaxseed gel. So, like, keep it real. So, anyway, that's my recommendation. Try some grease. So, so all
Love
right.
it.
Future adopter, tell the people where they can find you, and thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can the people find you? Are you there, Future?
I
Hello.
think we lost Future.
I think we
So
might have.
so
Ah,
while we still waiting on her, I'll
all
tell
right.
you where you can find me. You can find me on my blog, complicated melody with an I.wordpress.com. You can find me on the Twitters at Mimi Complex, or you can email me at complicatedmelody with an I at gmail.com. And what about you?
I can be found on WordPress at adoptiveblackmom.wordpress.com. I'm on the Twitters as Adoptive Black Mom. No A and Black. Strangely enough, and and I'm also, you can hit me up on Gmail at adoptiveblackmom@gmail.com. Future, tell the people where they can find you. Are you back?
I think we lost her,
I
but
think
you
we
can
lost
find,
her.
yeah, we completely lost her. But you can find her on her blog. Let me see what it's called. It's called, is she back?
It's called A Sister's Guide to Adoption. She
Mm-hmm.
can be found at sistersadopt.wordpress.com.
And her email is futureadopter at gmail.com.
So definitely hit her up. And thanks for folks that have tuned in. Thank you so much, Future. Thanks for Emily for tweeting us. And I guess we'll see everybody in 2
We'll
weeks.
see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Good
All right.
night.
Good night.